The Kihansi spray toad, scientifically known as Nectophrenoides aspergillus, is one of the world's rarest amphibians. It is a very tiny toad, only about the size of a fingernail, discovered in the late 1990s in the Kihansi gorge of southern Tanzania. What makes this little creature so unique is its special home. It lived only in the mist zone created by waterfalls, where fine spray kept its skin moist. Unlike most toads that lay eggs, the Kihansi spray toad gives birth to fully formed live young, a rare trait among amphibians. Because its entire survival depended on the constant spray of water, changes to its habitat made it critically endangered, and at one point it even disappeared from the wild. Today, it stands as a symbol of both the fragility of nature and the importance of protecting unique ecosystems. The classification of Kihansi spray toad. The Kihansi spray toad belongs to the great kingdom Animalia. That means it is an animal, a living creature that breathes, moves, and depends on other organisms for food. It falls under the phylum Chordata. All members of this phylum have, at some stage of life, a flexible rod called a notochord, a spinal cord, and gill slits. In the case of the Kihansi spray toad, it shows this structure during its development. Next, it is placed in the class Amphibia. Amphibians are special animals that can live both in water and on land. They usually have moist skin for breathing and go through a life cycle that involves metamorphosis, from egg, to larva, to adult. Within amphibians, this toad is in the order Anura. Anurans are frogs and toads. They are known for having strong back legs for jumping, and they do not have tails as adults. It belongs to the family Bufonidae. This is the family of true toads. They typically have dry, warty skin, and most of them lay eggs. But the Kihansi spray toad is unusual because it gives birth to live young instead of laying eggs. Its genus is Nectophrenoides. This group of toads is found only in certain parts of Africa, and all of them share the rare ability of live-bearing reproduction. Finally, its species is Nectophrenoides aspergillus, the Kihansi spray toad itself. This species is incredibly tiny, only about 1 to 2 centimeters long, and it was discovered in Tanzania's Kihansi gorge. It is famous for its dependence on the misty spray from waterfalls for survival, which makes it one of the most unique toads in the world. Deep inside the misty gorge of the Kihansi River in Tanzania lives a very small but extraordinary creature, the Kihansi spray toad. First, let's picture its size. This is one of the tiniest toads in the world. An adult measures only 10 to 18 millimeters long from snout to vent, that is less than the width of your thumb. This measurement has been carefully recorded by herpetologists who studied it in the wild, Poynton et al. 1998, Lee et al. 2006. Now, notice its colors. The background is usually golden yellow, bright like sunlight through mist. Over this golden body, we can see yellow and brown speckles on the back, or sometimes even dark side bands edged with lighter stripes. These patterns give the toad camouflage on the mossy, wet rocks where it lives, Lee et al. 2006. If we look underneath, its belly skin is translucent and whitish, so thin that the liver, fat bodies, and even the intestines can be seen through it. This unusual feature was described in the first detailed studies of the species, Poynton et al. 1998, and for females carrying young, the belly sometimes takes on a bluish-green cast, caused by the developing larvae pressing up against the abdominal wall, almost like a living window into the next generation, Lee et al. 2006. Another adaptation appears around its nose. The Kihansi spray toad has tiny flaps covering its nostrils, which scientists believe are a special adaptation for living in the heavy mist of waterfalls, protecting the toad from inhaling too much spray, Poynton et al. 1998. Its toes are partially webbed, helping it grip slippery, wet surfaces, while climbing on moss and grass. And unlike many frogs and toads, it has no external tympanum, or eardrum, giving its head a smooth, rounded look, Lee et al. 2006. When comparing males and females, the differences are subtle. Females are slightly larger, though usually hard to distinguish from males unless they are gravid, pregnant, when their bodies become swollen and round with developing young, Lee et al. 2006. Males, in contrast, tend to show more dark paws on their backs, especially around the head and shoulders. And during the breeding season,
Studies of captive populations revealed that males develop dark patches of special glands, known as interfemoral glands, in the groin area where the thighs meet the body. These glands are believed to help in reproduction. Poynton et al. 1998. So, every detail of this small amphibian, from its tiny golden body. Poynton et al. 1998, Lee et al. 2006, to its see-through belly. Lee et al. 2006, to its nostril flaps. Poynton et al. 1998, to the seasonal changes in males. Lee et al. 2006, tells the story of a toad perfectly adapted to the delicate spray wetlands of Kihansi Gorge. Geographic location. The Kihansi spray toad, scientifically known as Nectophrenoides aspergillus, was found only in a tiny, highly restricted area, less than 2 hectares, at the base of the Kihansi River waterfall in Tanzania's Ujungwa escarpment of the Eastern Arc Mountains. The Kihansi Gorge stretches approximately 4 kilometers from north to south, and its misty spray zones created a unique wetland ecosystem. These wetlands were covered with dense grasses, club moss, and snail ferns, providing both shelter and food for the toads. The constant waterfall spray maintained nearly 100% humidity and stable temperatures, conditions essential for their survival. Today, an artificial gravity-fed sprinkler system has been installed to mimic the natural spray and preserve this fragile habitat. Poynton et al. 1998, NORPLAN, 2002. 2. Life history. This tiny amphibian has a very unusual life history. The Kihansi spray toad is ovoviviparous and a direct developer, which means it gives birth to fully formed young instead of laying eggs in water. Fertilization occurs internally, and the developing larvae are retained within the female until they are ready to be born. Each egg is about 2.4 mm in diameter, and the number of offspring per female varies from 5 to 28, depending on her size and condition. Lee et al. 2006, Channing et al. 2006, Orton, 1949. 3. Habits and life cycle. The Kihansi spray toad is strictly terrestrial, living on the ground within the misty spray wetlands. Its diet mainly consists of small insects, including flies, fly larvae, mites, and springtails. Interestingly, when disturbed, it may feign death or eject water from its bladder as a defense mechanism. The toads shared their habitat with other amphibians, such as Arthroleptis stenodactylus, Shootodendula zenodactyla, Nectophrenoides tournieri, and other arthroleptide species, forming a small but diverse community of spray zone specialists. Lee et al. 2006. 4. Mating habits. Male Kihansi spray toads have dark gland patches on their hind legs. These patches may produce pheromones and serve as visual signals to other males, marking territorial boundaries. In captivity, males have been observed stretching their hind legs behind them while vocalizing and displaying these patches. The species typically uses axillary amplexus, in which the male clasps the female under her forelimbs during mating, although ventral amplexus has occasionally been observed. Because of the species' unique reproductive style, early attempts at captive breeding were difficult. However, after extensive study, zoos such as the Bronx Zoo and Toledo Zoo successfully established breeding populations, ensuring the species' survival. Lee et al. 2006. 5. Special characteristics. The Kihansi spray toad is remarkable in several ways. First, its restricted range makes it one of the most localized amphibians in the world. Second, its ovoviviparous reproduction is rare among toads, allowing it to give birth to live young. Third, it is entirely dependent on the spray zone for moisture and survival. Fourth, it has unusual defensive behaviors, including feigning death and ejecting water when threatened. Finally, the species has become a symbol of conservation, having been declared extinct in the wild in 2009 but surviving today through carefully managed captive breeding programs in U.S. zoos. IUCN-SSC Amphibian Specialist Group, 2015, Lee et al., 2006. Trends and threats. The species' decline was rapid and dramatic. In 1999, over 20,000 toads were estimated in the upper spray wetland alone. By January 2004, only 3 toads were observed, with 2 males heard calling. A single unconfirmed report appeared in 2005, but no wild toads have been reliably seen since. The main cause was the construction of a massive hydroelectric dam, which reduced water flow and dried out the spray wetlands. High-flow water release experiments in 2002 and 2003 were insufficient to restore natural conditions. Secondary threats included chytrid fungus, Batrachochytrium dendrobatidis, and pesticides, but these were less significant than the habitat loss caused by the dam. Lee al. 2006, Quinn al. 2005, Channing al. 2009. Efforts to mitigate the damage included installing a sprinkler system over part of the habitat. However, the wetland plant community shifted, native marsh and streamside plants retreated, and invasive species proliferated, leaving the habitat irreversibly altered. Quinn al. 2005, Lee al. 2006. To prevent extinction, 499 individuals were collected for captive breeding in the United States. Today, thousands of Kihansi spray toads survive at the Bronx Zoo, Toledo Zoo, and other facilities, including a propagation center in Tanzania. CBSG, 2007, IUCN, 2012. Reintroduction into the wild. With habitat restoration, reintroduction began. In 2010, 100 captive bred toads were flown from U.S. zoos to Tanzania. In 2012, a test population of 48 toads was released into the gorge using natural substrates from the spray wetlands, carefully ensuring that chytrid fungus was not introduced. On the 29th of October 2012, 2,500 captive bred individuals were released into the wild, with additional releases planned. Reintroduction is challenging, as the toads must adapt to finding food, evading predators, and resisting disease in their natural habitat. Despite occasional mortality in captivity due to chytrid fungus or equipment failures, these efforts offer hope for a sustainable wild population. Full-scale programs continue, aiming to restore the species to its native spray wetlands. IUCN, 2012.